My jealous sister-in-law was obsessed with my pregnancy and desperate to know the names I'd chosen for my twins. I was so convinced she'd steal them that I set a trap, planting a piece of paper with 2 fake names for her to find. She took the bait, but what started as a petty plan to expose her snooping ended up unraveling her marriage and her life. My sister-in-law mocked my pregnancy, demanded my twin names, and tried to use them first. But I clapped back in a way she never saw coming. I'm Leah, 32, and I've been married to Jack, 34, for 4 years. This situation revolves around Jack's sister-in-law, Miranda, 36, who is married to his brother, Tony. Miranda and I are extreme opposites. She is outspoken and loves being the center of attention. I prefer to be quiet and observe. The trouble began long before our children were involved. It started the moment Jack and I got engaged. We had been dating for only 9 months, and Miranda immediately told family members that I was rushing Jack into marriage, that I had possibly ensnared him. Our wedding only made things worse. Jack and I had a traditional church service for 151 guests and an 11-day honeymoon in Ireland. Meanwhile, Miranda and Tony had married at City Hall after she gave him an ultimatum, a fact the entire family knew. The contrast grew starker after Jack and I bought our suburban home. Miranda and Tony continued to rent a small apartment. At Tony's birthday party a year ago, Miranda had too much to drink and declared in front of everyone that she should have married Jack instead because he had his life together. This long-simmering jealousy exploded with my first pregnancy 3 years ago. Miranda and Tony had been trying to have children for years without success. When anyone mentioned my pregnancy, she would change the subject or make comments about how it wasn't that unique. Her oddest behavior began after we revealed we were having a son. She became obsessed with learning his name. When I told her we wouldn't share it until the birth, she grew angry. After our son was born, she couldn't stop gushing about his unique name, bringing it up at every opportunity. It was strange, but I brushed it off. Fast forward to this year. Miranda finally became pregnant, around the same time I conceived our twins, a boy and a girl. She was about 9 weeks ahead of me. The moment we announced we were having twins, she resumed the name questioning, but this time with twice the intensity. Her remarks also grew more offensive. She'd comment on how I'd gained twice the weight and, at a family cookout, loudly proclaimed we had gotten pregnant on purpose just to steal her thunder. Everyone knew we had been trying for a second child for over a year. I chose to ignore her, knowing that giving her no reaction was the best way to irritate her. After weeks of her hounding us for the twin names, I became suspicious. I asked Jack if he thought Miranda wanted to know our names so she could use them first, since she was due earlier. He chuckled at first, but then admitted it was plausible. That's when I decided to put my theory to the test. Jack's father was celebrating his 61st birthday at our place the following weekend. I devised a plan. I went online and created custom wall decals with 2 names that I liked but were not our final choices, Rose Arwen and Luke Max. I went through the entire ordering process, but stopped just before payment. Instead, I printed the final order confirmation sheet, which clearly displayed both names. The night before the party, I folded the paper and put it inside the nursery dresser's middle drawer, leaving one corner sticking out just enough to be noticed. Jack thought my scheme was absurd, but he agreed to a $23 bet that Miranda would not snoop. We were busy hosting the party and didn't pay attention to Miranda's movements. The next morning, I checked the nursery. The paper was still in the drawer, exactly where I'd left it. Jack and I assumed the test had failed and forgot about it. But then I realized something. Miranda had completely stopped asking about our baby names. For someone who had been pestering us daily, the sudden silence was strange. 4 weeks later, Miranda gave birth. Jack and I visited the hospital to meet our new nephew. When I asked Miranda what she had named the baby, she smiled and said, "Luke Max." She stared directly at me as she said it, clearly expecting a dramatic reaction. Instead of appearing offended, I became overly enthusiastic. I raved about how beautiful the name was, how perfect it sounded. I went on for a full minute as Miranda's expression shifted from smug enjoyment to confusion, and finally to visible frustration. Jack, standing beside me, was trying his best not to laugh. Later, in the elevator, he handed me $23 while shaking his head. What I didn't know then was that the scene in the hospital room had been far messier than I realized. Jack's mother later filled me in on the details. Miranda and Tony, she said, had been fighting about baby names for months. Miranda had spent her pregnancy compiling lists of female names, but refused to consider male names, convinced she was having a girl. She desperately wanted a daughter to finally bond with Jack's mother, who had 3 sons and only 1 grandson at the time. When Miranda gave birth to a boy, something in her mind seemed to change. When Jack and I arrived at the hospital, Miranda and Tony were still arguing over the name. She had never mentioned Luke Max to Tony until that very moment. He was stunned and indignant, having no idea where the names came from and disliking them completely. He refused to sign the birth certificate. They left the hospital without a name for their infant. According to state law, they had 11 days to register one. Miranda eventually told Tony to do whatever he wanted. She didn't care anymore. Tony chose Bruce Rocky. Bruce after his favorite basketball player, and Rocky, a nod to the name she had so bizarrely announced. So, the baby was never actually named Luke Max. My trap had worked, but it had also revealed a deep crack in their marriage. Miranda, according to Jack's mother, became withdrawn after returning home. She met the baby's basic needs but seemed distant. She broke down one day, crying that she'd probably never have a daughter due to her age and their fertility issues. Despite everything, I felt a pang of pity for her. The truth about my trap came out in the worst possible way. After I gave birth to our twins in early January, Rose and Frodo Jack, my mother-in-law was overhelping. While holding Rose, she remarked on how lovely her name was and that she'd seen it recently but couldn't remember where. I made a vague comment about it being a common name. That evening, she called me. She remembered. She had been searching for baby wipes in the nursery during the birthday party and had seen the corner of the paper in the dresser. She'd pulled it out, seen the names Rose Arwen and Luke Max, and assumed they were our choices. When Miranda announced Luke Max at the hospital, my mother-in-law realized Miranda must have snooped. She was furious that Miranda had gone through our personal belongings and that I felt the need to set a trap in the first place. I told her the whole truth. She wasn't happy about the deception, but she was angrier about Miranda's probing. The real trouble started when my mother-in-law couldn't keep the story to herself. She told Jack's father, who then told Tony. Tony confronted Miranda. She denied everything at first, but eventually admitted to looking through our drawers. According to Tony, she broke down completely when she found out we had duped her. She confessed she had planned to use any name she could find to hurt me, to ruin something for me in the same way her fertility issues had ruined things for her. Tony was devastated, not only by the spying but by her admission that she tried to name their son specifically to hurt me. He told her she needed to apologize to us immediately. Miranda refused. She claimed I had humiliated her and turned the entire family against her. This led to a massive fight. Tony pointed out that she had brought it all on herself. Miranda accused him of taking my side. The argument escalated when Tony said he had never liked Luke Max and was relieved they had ended up with Bruce Rocky. Miranda screamed that she hated the name Bruce Rocky and wished she hadn't had the baby at all if it was going to be a girl. Tony moved out that night and has been staying with his parents for the last 3 weeks. He cares for baby Bruce during the day while Miranda works and returns him to her at night. They barely speak. The divorce progressed quickly. Tony received primary custody of Bruce, with Miranda getting supervised visits every other weekend. The judge was unimpressed by Miranda's admission that she tried to use her baby's name as a weapon against family members. For the first month, Miranda attended her visits but seemed distant from Bruce, often passing him off to Jack's mother while she sat on her phone. Then she started missing visits. First 1, then 2, then months went by without any contact. We discovered through social media that she was dating someone new. She was traveling, going to restaurants, living like a childless woman in her 20s. Tony was devastated. Despite everything, he had hoped she would be a mother to their son. Jack's mother stepped in, essentially becoming Bruce's primary daytime caregiver. The cousins are now growing up together, a silver lining in this chaotic situation. Miranda made one final, dramatic appearance at Jack's grandmother's 85th birthday party last month. She arrived unannounced with her new partner, expecting to be welcomed back. The mood became instantly tense. She tried to act normal, asking to hold Bruce, but Tony told her she wasn't supposed to be there outside of scheduled visits. Miranda claimed she was family and had every right to be there. Jack's father finally stood up, telling Miranda that she had lost the right to show up unannounced after months of ignoring her son and badmouthing the family. He asked her and her partner to leave. Miranda burst into tears, claiming everyone had turned against her and that I had ruined her life through manipulation. I had remained silent, but that comment prompted me to speak up. I told her that digging through my personal belongings and attempting to steal my baby's name out of spite was her decision, not mine. I told her that she was responsible for every problem in her life and that she should stop blaming others. She screamed a few names I won't repeat here and left, hurling accusations as she went. That was 2 months ago. She hasn't contacted anyone since. Tony has been doing well as a single father and has recently started dating someone new, a woman who understands his situation. As for me, I have no regrets about setting the name trap. Miranda's reaction exposed her true character. She could have apologized for snooping and moved on. Instead, she chose to destroy every relationship she had rather than accept responsibility. Bruce is better off without a mother who resented his existence from birth. Tony is better off without a wife who married him as a consolation prize. And our entire family is better off without the drama and negativity she brought to every gathering. My little test worked better than I ever expected. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for someone is give them enough rope to hang themselves.